Recently, I went to Pasadena Comic-Con, and while it wasn't really my scene, I'm not a big con goer, I still had a lot of fun, and I took a few pictures. Here's one of me with a backwards compatible PS3, here's one of me with a TurboGrafx 16, and here's one of me taking a piss. After the convention ended, me and my girlfriend ended up meeting up with some of her friends at a local restaurant. After everyone was finished eating, everybody got to talking, and the topic ended up leading towards how we could potentially improve the experience of future conventions, specifically Power Morphicon, which is the Power Rangers focused convention. Everyone was spitballing, everyone was throwing out really good ideas, and I'm not a big Power Rangers fan, so I wasn't really able to add anything to the conversation. I was kind of wallflowering it up, but everything that everyone was talking about really did inspire me thinking about potential ideas for a Megami Tensei convention, because I'm a big Shin Megami Tensei fan, I'm a big Persona fan, I'm a big everything that's like under that umbrella fan. As far as I'm concerned, I don't think this series or franchise has ever had a convention of its own. Of course, it's got a presence at places like Anime Expo, but there's never been a convention that was mainly focused around Megami Tensei, official or otherwise. So here are some ideas that I came up with of what could potentially be in a Megami Tensei convention. So let's move on to our first idea, and we're going to have these things segmented off into specific categories. Our first category we have is experiences. Now, this was the big thing that my friends were talking about, things that are unique to that specific convention. And my first idea I had was a haunted house. And this haunted house would be themed after none other than Devil Survivor. Now, the reason I chose Devil Survivor is because I feel that series is probably maybe the most grounded for Megami Tensei, and I also feel it's probably the most horror coded as well, especially if you're looking at like the manga. I've never seen that much gore in a Megami Tensei piece outside of maybe Giten Megami Tensei. And so my idea was that the haunted house would just be you going through like the deteriorating streets of Tokyo, trying to find your way out of the lockdown. And of course, there would be like demons that jump out and go like, "Rah!" and scare you and all that. And also, besides demons, people that have gone insane either with power, such as, you know, demon tamers, or just crazy people in general. Now, I know humans jumping out at you probably isn't the scariest thing ever, but when you're keeping in mind like the context of it all, I think that would be enough to immerse you in everything. This is an idea that I actually had for the longest. I always thought that a Devil Survivor haunted house would go hard. Please, Atlus, if you're listening to this, please don't steal it, but if you do, can you make it really, really cool? Now, my next idea for an experience is an obstacle course based off of Dot from Shin Megami Tensei 5. I chose Dot, and I also chose Shin Megami Tensei 5 because that game is probably the most that platforming has ever been introduced into the series. Like, you're jumping around, you're sliding down like hills and stuff like that. It's very dynamic compared to like the typical Megami Tensei experience. And Dot itself could be perfect for an obstacle course because you're jumping up, like imagine just jumping up like buildings, climbing up buildings, jumping across rooftops and stuff like that, sliding down. Like you could have like a slide that looks like a little sand mountain or something. You slide down that, and maybe there could be like specific hidden areas where we could have like Me-Man chilling out and stuff, and you just be like, how would I get up there? And, you know, of course it'd be off the beaten path. Like, that could be a lot of fun. And I know Megami Tensei fans are not the most physically inclined, but, you know, it wouldn't have to be that challenging or anything. It could just be like a very simple obstacle course. Now, the next one here, and it's one that I feel could be pretty cool, but also maybe not incredibly like Megami Tensei focused, is laser tag in the junkyard. The junkyard being the setting for Digital Devil Saga. Now, I don't know too much about DDS. I've never played it for an extended period of time. I did start playing it like once, and I stopped like after an hour or something because I'm like, I'll just wait until the HD remaster. I may not know too much about it, but I do know that there's like a lot of war involved. There's a lot of gunplay. My idea is like teams, and the teams could be based off of the tribes from Digital Devil Saga. We could theme the entire arena after the junkyard, and you know, you're just going around, you're just shooting people, and you know, it'd be a lot of fun. You know, there's not going to be any eating people, okay? There's no cannibalism here because, you know, this is a convention. We can't have con-goers eating each other because it would cut into the sales of other things. All right, now the next one we got right here, the next experience is the escape room, and this one will be based off of Strange Journey. And the escape room idea I also had for quite a while, but I didn't know what I wanted to do with it. Like, I wanted to do Devil Survivor. Someone in my chat came up with the idea for Strange Journey being the theme. Strange Journey is also about you trying to escape Schwarzfeld. So you could go through all like imagine like all the rooms being based around the sectors. So you have Sector A, you have Sector B, and then you end up getting to Sector E, and that's where everyone gets stuck at. But just imagine that you're going through all the sectors, you open a room, then it's a new sector. When I thought about it more, I thought, you know what? That's way better of an idea than Devil Survivor. And honestly, I'd feel really bad taking away Devil Survivor from the haunted house experience because, like I said, Devil Survivor is more horror-coded than, say, Strange Journey. But yeah, that would be a really fun idea. And honestly, like, you know, we don't even need to have, like, a convention for that. Like, Atlus, please, there's a bajillion, like, escape room places and stuff. You could probably spitball that idea to them, and they would probably take it from you. Have a collab that way. We don't need a convention for this. Okay, and the next experience, we've been needing this for the past 2 years, and that is Megaten Concert number 2. So, for those who don't know, in 2023, there was a Shin Megami Tensei concert. It was really cool. It was really kick-ass. I screamed my lungs out. For those who were there and for those who heard me, I'm so sorry. In order to make up for that, we gotta get Megami Tensei concert number 2. This would be the perfect place to have it. Maybe not the perfect place. Maybe it could be similar to AX where it's like, you know, associated with the convention, but it's at a different building. Have that. We need another, like, Shin Megami Tensei concert. It's been so long, and I would love to check them out again. The first one was hype. Just imagine how much even more hype the second one would be. Especially, like, happening around the same time as a Megaten convention. There'd be so many fans just willing and ready to go. Now, next we have, and of course, it's one that every convention needs to have. It is the Maid Cafe. But the twist here is it has demons instead serving you. This is an idea that I also have an alternative theme for. But the Maid Cafe having demons, I feel, could work just as well. You know, whenever people go to maid cafes, people go for one reason and one reason only, and it's to hang out with the maids. And I'm sure a lot of Megaten fans would be really willing to hang out with the demons of the series. And so, you know, just imagine you're just hanging out with the demon, you're playing like Uno or whatever, and then they deliver your food, and then you got like Succubus or whatever, just like doing the Moe Moe Kun spell on your omelet or whatever. That's all great, but I would like to talk a little bit more about the alternative theming that I have for this, and that is an Alice Maid Cafe. So instead of maids, and instead of like typical demons and stuff, you just have a bunch of workers dressed up as the Alice demon from Megami Tensei, and I feel that would actually work quite well. It wouldn't be too off the mark for most like maid cafes, because Alice, I feel, looks pretty similar to a typical maid. She has like the dress, and you know what, the whole backstory, the whole lore of Alice, because she is technically based off of the Alice in Wonderland character. In that story, there was the tea party, and then pretty much all of the typical maid cafe stuff would happen, but of course it would be themed all around, you know, like Alice, as well as her story and her place in like Megami Tensei. Whichever one is chosen, though, whichever theme is chosen, it will still prove to be a very fun experience. I just think that the Alice idea is very fitting. And hey, if we don't want a maid cafe, we could always have what I think would be even funnier is a cat cafe with cats that look like Morgana, Goto, and Schrodinger. And so it would just be like the typical just cat cafe where you go there and you're just hanging out and you're just sitting with some cats. You know, you're playing with them, you're drinking your mocha latte or whatever, and then like a bunch of fur gets in it. All that stuff, all the stuff that you would come to expect from a cat cafe, but just all the cats are like tuxedo cats or black cats or just gray cats, just themed after those cats from Megami Tensei. I don't know if there's any other cats to speak of outside of like some demons, right? Like no major cat characters. I think those 3 are all there is. And with the cat cafe idea, we have exhausted our experiences portion of the Megami Tensei convention. I know, I was trying to think of some other experiences, but nothing was coming to mind. Okay, so we're moving on from experiences to panels. And the first panel I have is, and it's one that I think would be really fun. I don't think it's one that a lot of people could participate in as like audience participation, but it is a Jack Bros speedrun panel. So for those who don't know, the game is pretty much an hour long. You could beat it in a shorter amount of time, of course. So I feel that game would be the perfect candidate for a speedrunning competition because, you know, it's so short. Panels can usually last about an hour. I'm sure the most diehard of like speedrunners would be down to engage in something like this. And of course, speedrunning is a lot of fun to watch. So I'm sure there'd be many people that would be willing to sit down and cheer on like the participants. Yeah, honestly, a really good idea and probably the strongest idea I have for the panels to start off with. And the next idea, maybe not the strongest. It's very similar to the Jack Bros speedrun panel in the fact that there's a video game involved. But the next panel we have is the Shin Megami Tensei 1 audience playthrough, but every person gets 10 seconds of playtime. So here's my idea. I don't know how long this Megami Tensei convention would run, but for however many days, this panel will be ongoing. And what we'll do is we'll have like a big line. You line up so that way you can have your 10 seconds of playtime with Shin Megami Tensei 1, and I don't know which version it'll be. I guess we'll just go with the PlayStation version because it's a bit more modernized. If anyone has SMT1 on iOS, then we'll definitely use that. Whatever the case, it's just SMT1, and everyone, like, they go in, they get their 10 seconds, and then they go to the back of the line, and we'll keep this thing going after hours. Like, the whole convention can close, but we'll still have this thing going on if anyone wants to stay over. Okay, the next panel we have is, the iconic cosplay contest. Every convention has a cosplay contest, no matter which one you go to, no matter how small they are. And so my way to make this unique is we could have 2 different cosplay contests, one for Persona and one for Megami Tensei, like the rest of Megami Tensei. I know it's probably not the best idea to like segregate the 2. We wouldn't have to worry too much about there being 1,000 Persona cosplays and maybe like 100 Megami Tensei cosplays, and then everyone has to go up and like have like only 1 second to be up there. It's the smartest thing we could do. And also for those who don't like Persona, because you know there's gonna be people who don't like either or. They don't like Persona, they don't like Megami Tensei. You could just go to the one that intrigues you the most. And hey, we could probably, I just came up with this, we could probably have a 3rd cosplay contest. We could have the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd placers for the Persona and the Megami Tensei cosplay contest move on to the 3rd one. And that's how we could figure out who is like the head honcho, the number 1 of both of the cosplay contests. 3 cosplay contests. How about that? All right, and then we're gonna move on to our next idea, which is the okay, this one's also probably on the same level of dumbness as the SMT1 audience playthrough. It is the negotiations panel. And so my idea is you'll have like a demon cosplayer up on stage, and then down there in like the seating area, you'll have a huge line for a microphone. And what people are gonna do is they're gonna try and negotiate with the demon, and it'll be probably as random, chaotic, and hectic as a typical negotiation. Meaning you won't know what the outcome will be. You'll just go up there and you'll be like, join my party, and they'll be like, why, huh? Why? And you're like, cause it's cool. And they're like, no, you don't look that cool. You look like you didn't shower today. Which, you know, I joke about that, but I'm pretty sure that might actually hold true for a lot of the people that go to this convention. Maybe it could be like a group effort. Maybe, you know, everyone is working towards trying to like negotiate with this demon, and after like 30 minutes or something, we could just like figure out the outcome. Now, I would like for there to be like multiple demons that you could go through. Like, I wouldn't want it to just be like a single demon, unless maybe we could have that be the case for like, just like for if the convention's gonna be multiple days, maybe every day could have a different like demon to negotiate. Maybe we should have like a script or something, or we should have like guidelines, so that way it's just not entirely random. I'm sure there'll be like some precautions so that way that the audience has a fair chance. And now the next and final panel idea I have for the Megaten convention, and that is, did you know Tensei, which, going off of the name, would be a quiz show panel. There will be like some contestants up there. We'll have like maybe 3 or something. And, you know, they'll be hanging out and we'll have the host asking questions based off Megaten trivia, Megaten lore, history, etc. The people that work for like Megaten, Atlus, all that. It could be many things. I don't really have that much to go off of. Like, I don't really know what else we could do to make a Megaten quiz show interesting or exciting. But even though it's not that unique of an idea, I still think it could be really entertaining. So like I said, that was the last of the panels ideas that I have. And now we're going to move on to some after hours ideas. And for this convention, I was kind of playing around with it on stream. I thought it would be funny to label after hours as something different. And what I came up with was Expanse Hours, and Expanse, of course, being the demon world in Megami Tensei. It's also known as Makai, but, you know, considering that we're going to have a mainly English attendance, we'll just go with Expanse. And for the first idea that we have for the after hours portion here, and it's about as sad as one could expect for most after hours ideas, and that is the waifu wars. And for those who don't know what waifu wars are, it's typically just like 2 people go up, they have their waifu, and they just debate each other for an allotted amount of time over why their waifu is best waifu and for why the other waifu is low-tier trash. Now, of course, the difference here with our idea is that instead of waifus, we'll be debating over demons. And yes, I know it is still Gooner bait, but it's a bit more complex than that because, you know, with typical waifu wars, you only go off of just like how goonable they are, but for demons, you could use many different arguments, such as, you know, their powers, like their lore, how cool they look, because demons generally look way more cool than waifus do. And we could pretend that, if even for just a moment, we could pretend that we're not just debating over goon material or waifus or whatever, we're debating about so much more than that. Even though at the end of the day, it's all just degen behavior. Now, an idea that I actually had for a debate topic, and it's one that's not Gooner material at all, is debating alignments. And while I still think that's a really good idea and absolutely fitting for a series like Megami Tensei, I just don't know if it would have the same entertainment value as like demon waifu wars. Like, of course, it would be way more like intellectually stimulating, but I just don't know if it'll be that fun for everybody. It could actually just end up leading to literal screaming arguments. And while that in itself could be fun for some people, I just think it might end up getting a little awkward. For the next idea that we have for after hours, and actually we'll talk about the next 2 ideas that I have because they're both very similar because they both pertain to dance parties, after hours dance parties. And the first theme that I have is Shin Megami Tensei 2 Disco. You know, everybody's going there, everyone's dancing crazy, all that fun stuff. And the other theme that I have is Persona 4 Dancing All Night, or Persona 3 just the Persona dancing games in general. And I have these 2 separated because we could have one for like each different night. So we could have like the Shin Megami Tensei 2 Disco, and since SMT in general is just a lot more darker, a little bit more grittier, we could have maybe a more rave aesthetic. You know, everyone's like throwing their light sticks around, everyone's going crazy, everyone's doing a lot of ecstasy, everything that goes on at a rave. Maybe not to the same extent as a typical rave, but you know, it'll be a bit more heavier compared to the Persona dance party. For that, we could just keep that as like a typical dance party. We'll have like mainstream pop music, we could have like, you know, typical dancing, EDM, what have you, everything that most people know about when it comes to like going to a club and all that. And it would be perfect because, you know, not everybody likes to go to a dance party and instead would probably go to a rave and vice versa. So there's options for everyone, and we're able to include like both Persona and Megami Tensei. All right, and so moving on over to the last idea I have for the after hours portion, and that is a Megaten dating show. And the title for it would be what's your alignment? And so basically it'll pretty much just be like most other dating shows. We'll have 3 people up there, and the 3 people will be representing the alignments: law, neutral, and chaos. And those people will be obscured, and then we'll have another person that will be pretty much just talking to them, asking questions, like a typical dating show. Now, whether it'll be questions that will gauge the contestants based like on their alignment and stuff, or it'll just be like typical dating questions like, what kind of food do you like to eat, or what have you. I don't know, that's to be determined, but like at the end of it all, after all has been said and done, the person that's asking the questions will be able to choose, like out of the 3 like contestants, who their preferred alignment is. Then they'll be revealed, and then they could choose to go on a date with them or something, or live their life together, or I don't know. Of course, it may sound like I didn't really flesh it out that much, and I really didn't, but I still think it'd be fun. And with that, we have finished talking about our after hours ideas, and now we're going to move on to more miscellaneous stuff that I don't really think fits into any of the other categories. And we'll start with food ideas that I have. So we have like a magatsuhi drink. Maybe it could be like a sparkling drink. It could have like some carbonation in it. Tart flavor. It could be like cranberries or something. Lifestone rock candy. Bead chain candy. Kind of like those necklaces that have like the Smarties on them or something. Jack Frost ice cream. And so what that would be is it'll be like 2 scoops of vanilla, Oreo cookies for the eyes and mouth. And on top of that, we'll have 2 little mini cones that are blue in color. And those could represent like Jack Frost's hat, totally themed around our little snowman buddy. And my God, just thinking about like how much this could potentially cost, knowing like con food, oh man, oh God, that would probably be like a whole meal right there, at least in terms of price. And next and final idea that I have for the foodstuffs is a Persona 4 themed one, Naniko's chocolate. This is the Valentine's chocolate that she gives to you. It looks like a slime. It's like all purple, and it's got like a weird aura around it, and you know, you eats it, and of course he dies, pretty much. I don't know what the flavor would be. Of course it is chocolate, but like maybe we could actually make that like legitimately like a disgusting thing. Like it would not be like good to eat at all. Maybe we can make it really cheap too, so it'll incentivize people to buy it regardless of its taste for the experience alone, as well as, you know, people could take pictures and be like, I just bought the Naniko chocolate from the Megaten Convention. I hope I don't die. Next, we have an arcade area with crane games that have megaten plushies in them. So like Jack Frost, Me-Mans, the little fox dude from SMT4, I guess Navarre from SMT4 Apocalypse as well. A typical arcade, the ones that have like, you know, fighting games, rhythm games, they got like freaking sound voltex, all that fun stuff. Then we'll have the Demon Hunt, and this will just be like the quiet time area where you could just go, sit down, relax, stuff like that. But of course, with the theming of a demon hunt. So we could just have like, I don't know, like some Jack Frost plushies that you could like hug or something. Then next we have the official Megaten Convention merch booth. And this will be Junes themed. And there we'll have like literal official merch of the convention, as well as maybe potentially, if Atlus would like to work with the convention, official Shin Megami Tensei merch. Like official shirts, posters, toys, I guess, badges, pins. I know they had some stuff like that at their booth at AX 2023. That's actually where I got my badass SMT5 joggers. It would be a great place for people to get like official Megaten merch, and it would also be a great place for people to get the convention merch like as a souvenir or something like a memento to remember the convention by. Considering this is a Megami Tensei convention, I'm pretty sure it would be like a one and done. It probably won't survive after the first year. So hey, you may as well get like a shirt while you can, because who knows, maybe these could be like super duper rare like as the years go by. And next we have a screening room, which as the name suggests will be where we could screen Megaten media. So things like the Persona 4 movies, the Persona 4 anime, the Tokyo Revelation OVAs. What we could do to make this unique is we could theme it after the Climax Theater from the Persona 2 Innocent Sin PSP port. So we could have like the workers there dressed up as like the NPC from the Climax Theater, so they're wearing like that film strip inspired like dress, or maybe even like a film strip inspired suit, depending on if we have male workers or people that want to wear a suit. For the next and final idea that I have for this whole list, and it's one that's not even really like something that's unique. It's that, you know, of course, like at every convention, there's an artist alley as well as booths where you can buy retro games or whatever other like things are being sold. But for like these two things, artist alley and the booths, we can allow like negotiation or like haggling pretty much, where, you know, you could like go up to a booth and you could see like, you know, something really cool and you're just like, oh, I would like to buy this, but I would like for it to be like a lower price. And then you can negotiate with like the booth owner to hopefully get like a lower price on that. And of course, it might not be a really good idea. Maybe we would have to have like some guidelines set or whatever, so that way things don't get out of hand and we don't have people paying like a penny or like paying $4,000 for like a copy of Super Mario World. You know, we want it to be fun. And, you know, even though negotiation is an option, it's only that, an option. So if you want to just pay the price that, you know, they're asking for at like the booth or the table or whatever, you're totally able to do so. But what is a Megami Tensei convention if there's no ability to be able to negotiate with people, huh? Okay, and with that is all of the ideas that I have for a Megami Tensei convention. And of course, it's not a lot of ideas, but it's some pretty unique ideas. I'm really big on the experiences portion. A lot of those could honestly stand as their own. Like, it doesn't even have to be tied down for a convention. Like, you know, I'm sure Atlus could absolutely talk to somebody, like make some talks and get like a haunted house or like a laser tag or escape room or whatever. It's just that they haven't, and they probably won't do so in America for the time being. But it's a nice, fun, like brainstorming session, you know, just thinking of the possibilities, and they're absolutely endless, but you know, my brain can only go so far. So if there's ideas that you've had or have come up with while watching this like video or whatever, please leave them in the comments. I would like to check them out, because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of like inspired people out there that would like to see a Megami Tensei convention like come to fruition. It probably won't anytime soon, but you know, just thinking about it is a lot of fun. And with that, I'll end the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day.